Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on our authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Good afternoon. Oh. My patients are the biggest supporters of my writing. They are always buy up everything I write. I've written for several journals and magazines, and I have a book that I wrote about 8 years ago, and it's just is basically, when you ask the question why, I tell you to go find out because I want you to be proactive in your healthcare. The punk medicine is written to explain why you're helpless unless you're proactive in your healthcare, because a lot of medicine is not treating you, they're treating your symptom. And unless the doctor knows what's causing that symptom, you're in trouble. And in fact, they almost killed me a year ago because they didn't know what they were doing. There wasn't enough research on the COVID vaccine, and the vaccine almost killed me. I was in a coma for 3 days, and the doctors told my family I wasn't going to make it. Well, that shows you how little they really know. That's true of most medicine because they're taught to give drugs, not just talk to patients. The most important thing you can possibly do for your health is your diet and your attitude. And how many times you ever had a doctor ask you what your diet is, ask you why you're overweight or underweight, or ask you why you, I mean, when you look at a person, you can see a lot of their symptoms. And you don't have those symptoms if you have a healthy diet. God made a perfect body that can fight off anything. In fact, we're learning through quantum mechanics now, quantum physics, that we can fight off even stage 4 cancer if we take care of ourselves. But it takes attitude, because to get that good at curing your body, you have to do what medicine won't allow us to do. You have to go back into ancient history and study the Indian medicine, the Ayurvedic medicine, which believes that the brain can cure anything. Well, we've discovered this again. In quantum physics, we've discovered that the brain is able of killing just about any disease it wants to. But you can't do it if you're eating donuts for breakfast, McDonald's or pre-processed foods, deep fried in bad oil foods, all of these things that just take away your immune system so that you have no response when a germ comes in there. That's why I wrote the book about punk medicine, because when you go to a doctor, I want you to go to a doctor that's going to even ask you, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And question your judgment if you had something horrible, like a milkshake or something like that. Functional medicine is basically the answer to my problems with this book, because functional medicine is a new field of medicine that is looking at you and what makes up all of your body, your organs, your glands, your brain, everything. And unless you're Alice, I appreciate your question. It's my stand regarding drugs. I don't use one drug in my whole practice, because I think drugs are treating symptoms, not people. There are instances like when you have an infection when an antibiotic is necessary. But the truth is if we had a perfect diet, we probably wouldn't have the disease in the first place. So we always have to look at what we're putting into this body of ours. Is it what God meant us to have, or what God meant us to not have? Because he's made it so we're pretty resistant to everything. Now that I am on a perfect diet after I had my last near-death experience, I won't do anything. I won't eat anything that isn't good for me. And as a result, I'm not eating anything that comes from the store. I go to the farmer's market and I get the basic ingredients and I cook my own food. So, and it does have a wonderful serendipity too, because if you're my age, because I'm 84 and I feel more like I'm 60, and I'm going to continue to reverse my aging process. There's a lot of study on that. In fact, there's even a board certification in medicine on anti-aging medicine, because we've learned we can reverse the aging process. There's a Dr. David Sinclair in Harvard that believes we can be 120 years old and act more like we're 60. So attitude is everything. I live in an apartment that's all people over 50. And some people never take off their pajamas. They're just waiting to die. And there's so much life you can be having. It's taking me time to overcome the damage done by the syndrome I got. But when I get all my faculties back, I'm going to go back to hunting and fishing again and skiing. I would like, if I could do anything with my books, the reason I wrote The Punk Medicine is I wanted to emphasize the importance of being proactive. if there's anything you could get, is possibly go to my other book, or just take it upon yourself, because there's a lot of bad information out there. So I need you to become an authority on a lot of subjects. There's people that still think you should eat grains, and there's Dr. Perlmutter's have found that they cause brain damage. Well, grains have only been around for 10,000 years, and we still don't have animals that can adapt to a new food, totally new food, in 10,000 years. So my book is to emphasize the importance of taking a role in your own treatment. I'll welcome any questions you give me. There are a lot of different things. Of course, exercise is important, but there's a lot of different things to reversing the aging process. And I'm sure all my old elderly readers would like to hear them. And I could lecture for hours on that subject. But basically, you have to have an anti-aging attitude. I have been lucky enough to always feel like I'm the youngest person in the room throughout my life, always looking up to my elders and so forth. But now that I'm one of the elders, I still have that feeling that I have a lot to look forward to. And thanks to people like Dr. Sinclair, they're giving me a hand. There's actually a whole institute down in Royal Palm Beach, Florida, a hospital that is for anti-aging medicine. And I highly, highly commend the doctor for starting that. Too bad only the rich people go to it. It takes a little bit of a trip when you live in another country. But the medicine practiced by quantum physics, which is going to someday be the medicine, but it does require so much cooperation that there'll still be plenty of stupid patients that won't do a damn thing the doctor says. That'll take care of making the I don't care doctors pretty wealthy. That's one of the problems with all the drug industry and the medical industry right now. Profit is too big a factor. They if they can't get you in and out and get their money and write you a prescription so they don't have to think anymore, they'll do it. The good ones won't. There's a wonderful doctor I am aware of by the name of Mark Hyman, and you can get him on YouTube regularly. And his main thing on his YouTube performances is interviewing doctors that had horrible health until they realized they weren't taking good care of themselves. And they got into being functional doctors, which functional doctors are the ones that think of why is this gland not working? Not as my headaches are caused by a gland, but I'll get rid of the headache. There's so many things. If you just look at the human with an open mind and see that there's millions of things going on at once in there. If they have a high sugar diet, their gut flora are made up of mostly candida, which is a yeast, which makes you crave sugar. If they have colitis or Crohn's disease, which is a stupid name for a disease, it just means you're not taking care of yourself and you got your gut lining so thin, it's only one cell thick, that the bacteria going right into your blood, right through what's supposed to be a barrier there. And but what do doctors do? They give you steroids for Crohn's disease, which makes you not respond as well. So it won't hurt as much, but you need to respond and hurt enough to stop eating the junk you're eating. One of the things we do that's fouled us up is we eat a lot of things that compete with each other. Years ago, like 50 years ago, I read a book by Sheldon called I'll remember it, but it's a book on food combining made simple is the name of the book. And I'm gonna get this stupid food combining made simple, where he pointed out that if you combine different foods at the same time, some will negate the digestion of the other. For instance, a sandwich is a really bad idea because it's got starch on the outside and protein on the inside, which require two different digestive systems. Now, if you could have your flour, your bread made from almond flour, which is a protein, then you wouldn't need that cup of coffee to wake up in the afternoon. So, and also, a almond flour muffin is pure. Well, I mean, I think there's 3 carbohydrates in a muffin because you have to put a couple other ingredients in, and it's a full meal. And almonds are so good for you. And I use milk in making the almond flour muffins too. Yeah, you have to do a lot of things yourself, but I noticed the stores are starting to sell gluten-free. But always read the labels in the stores. One of the things that really should amaze you is read the number of ingredients in your favorite salad dressing. If you buy your salad dressing at the store, there's 20 to 50 ingredients in there, and you need maybe 3 for the salad dressing. The rest is going to be busy creating a longer shelf life, which means they're killing off your cells, because those poisons don't just kill germs, they kill your mitochondria, which we can't have life without mitochondria. And if we have enough mitochondria, it's pretty hard to get cancer because they kill it. One of the functions of mitochondria, which are the tiniest little cells in your body, there's 1,000 mitochondria in one heart muscle cell. So they're pretty small, but they're the source of all your life. You can't live without them. But if you have a full load of mitochondria, you have a condition called apoptosis that occurs where your DNA is able to look at your cell and inform the mitochondria if it's not performing as it was planned to, like if a hair follicle is not making hair, or skin isn't making skin, it's making cancer instead. The mitochondria automatically perform the apoptosis and kill a cell. So it would be amazing to know if we all had perfect diets, how little cancer there would be. And then we have the illegal people, and don't trust your government. It's impossible. Our government is run by lobbyists who the FDA will not allow a cure for cancer found by Royal Rife in 1931 or 2 or 3. And he discovered that everything vibrates with a signature vibration. In fact, all of us are made up of nothing but vibrations, oscillations, and cell strings. It's just when you study quantum physics, which I highly recommend everyone doing, it's nothing spooky. You learn it. You can get all kinds of books that a 7-year-old can study. In fact, there is one on YouTube written for 7 years old, and basically, you can get your body to do anything if you know if you take care of it. The killers are sugar and starch, and vegetable oils are poison. You should only eat fruit oils like avocado and olive oil and coconut oil. They're very good for you. And I get a particular olive oil from Greece that Dr. Gundry, who wrote the Plant Paradox, imports, and it's made from stressed olive trees that pack much more nutrition into the olive. So I just take that bottle, and rather than using it for my salad dressing, I just drink right out of the bottle. Because another thing you can do to help yourself out a lot is have your fat soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, along with the fat in the meal, so that you have more fat to distribute them around your body. Fish oil is extremely important for you. I get a fish oil that comes from New Zealand, made from the green lip mussel, and it is so good for every part of your body. It's very good for it. Things you don't. I mean, doctors will say just take a multivitamin. They're almost worthless. Get into those you can get a lot of stuff. In fact, Doctor, the guy who book Pagan Diet, his name is Dr. Mark Hyman. He highly recommends making up your own diet and knowing what you're doing, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Based on the 15,000 families I'm responsible for. I don't know how many patients I'm treating a year, but where I mentioned 15,000, I started a mental health center that I started working on it over 50 years ago, that now treats 15,000 families per year, according to what they can afford. And because mental health is, if you're stressed, you don't digest properly. Everything about your health can be hurt by stress. So, and then stress also leads to alcoholism and drugs and so forth, and all those interfere. And smoking, of course, is. I don't have one friend that near my age that is still alive that smoked, and I miss them all. My sister as well. Sal is asking another question. I've heard there are contests in the food. Oh, contents in the food. Oh, and food from the grocery store, even the vegetables, unless you have a special store like Whole Foods or one of those, are a special breed of vegetable that looks better, but is not as nutritious. And so I buy all my vegetables at the farmer's market because they spoil faster, so I eat them sooner. And same thing with my fruits. And I don't eat imported fruit. I go on a keto diet for the winter, because the keto diet is mostly fat and protein and some starch, but the vegetables that I would eat are the ones that you would get if you were living in nature, because I'm a very big follower of the paleo diet. The paleo diet just is, if you were a caveman, what would you be eating? Well, one of the things we don't eat that we'd be eating if we were a caveman is collagen. Because we want our meat to be, we don't want it to be stringy or tough or anything like that. But collagen is what the connective tissue is made out of. Now the Chinese make a chicken foot soup that's just pure collagen, and it's actually pretty good. But even the local Costco will sell you collagen peptides, which a couple of teaspoons of that a day, and you've got your collagen. And what that does is it keeps your skin young, for one, and you don't get the bags under your eyes you normally would get, and you just feel better because it's supposed to be there. Our ancestors, thousands and thousands of years ago, basically everything would go into a stew pot, and there were 150 vegetables. Now we have about 15. And they are all wild and natural, and with all the incredible bioflavonoids. There has been a new plant discovered in the Himalayas. It's a form of buckwheat that is referred to as a superfood. It's called Himalayan tartary buckwheat, and you can get it in the form of tea, and you can get it in the form of flour. It's not non-gluten flour. It's not a grain. It's a seed. So you can use it as a flour, and like buckwheat pancakes are far more tasty than regular pancakes. And if you eat them with blueberries instead of syrup, you're getting a real meal. In fact, berries are pretty much, if you have enough berries in your diet, especially Golgi berries, you won't get glaucoma. Of course, American medicine treats glaucoma with surgery and drugs, but you won't even get it. Since I've been on the ideal diet I'm on right now, I don't have to wear reading glasses anymore. And that's a relief. Although the pharmacy, when they give you a prescription, they make the smallest print they can possibly make, so that you have to use a magnifying glass to read it. I don't know what their purpose is. Maybe they don't want to admit it doesn't work. There's so many things you can do to reverse the aging process, but exercise is part of it. Attitude is a monster part of it. If you think you're going to die when you're in your 80s, you probably will. And you'll probably help it along with an extra martini in the evening or something. Well, just bad attitude will do it. Attitude is so important. You've got to, if you stop playing tennis, I know there's a guy in my community here that's 95 years old still playing tennis. I love tennis. If I hadn't broken both shoulders in an accident, I would have kept tournament tennis. But I'm going to go back into it because except for having a stainless steel left shoulder, but my right one's still good, and I'm right-handed. So I wanted to get that young tennis attitude because that's going to help my body keep cells that you would lose if you stopped doing those things. Stop doing young things, you use the brain connections that did them, you lose it, and you lose the muscle connections that do it, and you get to be flabby. I don't want to take off my shirt, but I maintain myself at my same weight as I was in high school, and definitely don't look my age. So anyway, I'd like some more questions from anybody that's interested in having a perfect life. It's that canola oil. I have a question from Blue what class is canola oil, or where does it come from? It's horrible. It's a vegetable oil and should never be used. If you don't like any avocado flavor in your oil, just use avocado oil. Any olive flavor. Some people are offended by it, but I kind of love the flavor of olive oil, and it really helps your skin a lot. I have a question from Florine. Okay. The muffins I'm talking about are made with almond flour. There's a little bit of buttermilk in them just to make it raise a little bit more. And there's some baking powder, baking soda. And of course, you have to have baking soda if you have buttermilk to get it to foam and fluff up things. And it has eight almond flour muffins will have 2 eggs in them. The recipes are all on the internet, and they're really delicious. And I mix up things like I like bananas in my almond muffins, and I also like to get them really ripe bananas. Then I like blueberries and raspberries in my almond muffins. And gosh, you've got a complete meal when you have that for breakfast. You can make them and freeze them, and you're on your way in the morning with a high protein, low carbohydrate, non-sugar, unless you have. I do splurge and have a teaspoon of real maple syrup in my coffee in the morning because I just love that flavor. But 1 teaspoon of maple syrup is not going to do any harm, and it comes with the minerals instead of just an empty sugar. And my salt, I use Himalayan salt because you're getting 15 minerals instead of 1. And so you're getting something. Sea salt also has a lot of minerals. In fact, it has all of them if it's prepared properly. There is a soil like the state of California won't allow it to be brought into California because it has asbestos in it. Well, California wouldn't have had a gold rush if we hadn't had asbestos, because asbestos ore comes with gold. So there's asbestos in everything in parts of California, but it doesn't hurt to eat a little bit of that. It's just going to go through you and out. But there's 76 minerals in Canadian glacier dust, And when you put that in your garden, your tomato plants will get up to 8 feet tall. Your heads of lettuce will be about a foot across instead of 6 inches. Your broccoli and your cauliflower heads will be huge, and the flavors will be unbelievable. And laboratory animals, when fed vegetables with glacier dust, with that 76 mineral glacier dust, have double their lifespan. But you can get glacier dust delivered from Oregon. It's not illegal there, and you can have it delivered to your home because the government doesn't have the authority to keep you from bringing in your own soil. If you want to eat asbestos dust, that's your business. It's a lot better than cigarette smoke. In fact, I doubt that there's the asbestos is in its natural form until you make it into a powder and try to breathe it is that dangerous. It's when you make a sheetrock or something like that out of it, like they did back in the 40s, and then you cut it with a saw and breathe in that stuff. But there was a lot of asbestos mined during the war in the hills around Lake Berryessa, which is fairly near Sacramento. Let's see, what else can we? I really want to. I made the punk medicine book short so that impatient people would still read it, but it's full of extremely valuable information about how people we thought we could trust, we literally, they're our enemies. The CDC is proposing that these children have vaccines for COVID when I don't know one person that got the COVID vaccine that didn't get sick again. And a real true vaccine is like polio, which you get the vaccine and you never get polio for the rest of your life. Same thing with smallpox. The COVID vaccine is made by a very unreputable company, Pfizer. And in my book, I mentioned that Pfizer also took the melanoprotein off the market, which prevents hardening of the arteries. So they can give you Lipitor, which actually can kill your liver. Statins can actually do more damage to the brain than they do good for the heart. And one thing, Paul Dudley White, who's got the Nobel Prize in cardiology, was taking 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C, because the way that the arteries get hard is the free radicals attack the walls of the arteries and make them sticky so that blood platelets can stick to them, as well as other things, and then calcium sticks to the blood platelets. When you take enough vitamin C, it's an antioxidant which destroys free radicals. And there's another vitamin C that comes from astaxanthin, which is 1,000 times stronger than vitamin C. And the real health experts are all taking astaxanthin, but it's such a good free radical destroyer that the Olympic athletes are using it to give them a little more stamina, because it keeps the free radicals from hurting their muscles and when they run long distances and so forth. So it's got to be good for you. Anything that kills off free radicals is good for you, and for your immune system as well. If you noticed that when you're watching the news during the COVID epidemic, which they're trying to persist it with, I mean, it's these people running around wearing masks don't realize that the mask is bigger than trying to keep the cells are bigger than a chain link fence trying to keep out mosquitoes. Actually, if you made the chain link fence about 6 inches per square, that's about the size, and a small mosquito is about the size of a virus going through a mask. It's no resistance at all. And this business is just compliance, getting us to give up our freedom, because that's all. The whole COVID thing was a political mess created in another country and spread around the world quickly. I would like to get at the real cause and who's making the most money off it. I know Pfizer sure is, but and the COVID vaccine was not researched out enough, and that's why I almost died last April, last end of March. It was a hard one because my condition was called Guillain-Barré, where your body doesn't recognize the virus because it's man-made, and it threw all my antibodies at it to try to kill it, and it almost killed me. I just woke up paralyzed one morning and got to go through. I got to go through with COVID the first time, which I spent New Year's Day in the hospital and the rest of that month. And then the idiots gave me the vaccine, which my body was ready with lots more antibodies, and that just about did me in. It'll take me probably a year more before I can ski again, but a good friend of mine was skiing at 90 years old, so I'm not going to let him pass me up. And I love, the best thing I like about hunting, I only hunt really tasty birds, and the grouse and pheasant, wild pheasant. I won't eat anything that eats grain. Wild pheasant, checker partridge, and mountain quail, because they're about 3 times the size of a tiny little valley quail. Chicken can't even come close to them. They're the most delicious birds you've ever tasted in your life. One of the nice things about France, and I love the south of France, my mother was born in Paris, but I love the south of France, is they have farmers markets that have wild game. We don't. And it's so nice to be able to go buy quail and pigeon and squab and all kinds of things. And squab is a baby pigeon, and it's so delicious and ridiculous. I know of a restaurant. It's Lutece in New York that has quail stuffed with squab, and it's boned quail. It just leaves you speechless. Come on, some people must have some questions. I'll think of a question for you. Okay, fish. Don't eat a farm fish. For one thing, they're killing off the rest of the fish in the ocean to farm the fish. And they're also feeding it things the fish don't normally eat. So I won't eat anything that's altered by man. But also, there's too much stress on the oceans right now, especially due to the fact that we're not controlling our use of plastic at all, and many of the fish are dying because they eat plastic. So when I go to the grocery store, I make sure I get a paper bag because they can recycle that very easily. The plastic will most of the time end up in the dumps. So it gets to get recycled by our earth very slowly. What are other people doing? Yeah, stay away from the vegetable oil and stay away from commercially fried food unless the restaurant has such a good reputation that they actually will tell you this is fried in coconut oil. I make the best coconut shrimp fried in coconut oil. Oh, it's just so good, and that oil enhances the coconut flavor in it. It's really good. There are wonderful ways. People think because I eat nothing but God's food that I don't get the variety of flavors. Gosh, well, I was raised by a French woman, and they're pretty smart. They get their sons to do all the cooking in the house by the time they're 14. So my mother was free from cooking at that age, and then I fell in love with cooking, and I love French cooking, and I loved going over to France. It's they take so much pride cooking. I hate these cooking programs that have competition. There's no competition in cooking. It's an act of love. And if you really love what you do and you love the people you're doing it for, you'll do it far better than anybody can teach you. Maybe except for Julia Childs and Jack Papan, who is a wonderful teacher. Is one of my really good friends, one of the best friends that I have in the cooking industry. Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. So, but there's nothing like France for good cooks. I would like to close. I've just been told I'm at the end of everything. I have my old book. I had it out here. Anyway, it's got a big why. Oh. Here it is. When you've read the present book, and I get back out of here, which is right here. When you read this, you're going to want to read the why, because it not only explains why you have to be proactive, this gives you the final reasons. You don't realize that even our government is trying to kill us, not letting us have the cure for cancer. And it's lobbying has to be made illegal. That's one of my conclusions in my book. We just can't go on with bribery running our country. Greed has to be ended. Greed is the reason for all the problems in the world. It's actually, we wouldn't have countries trying to take over countries if they weren't greedy. And the point is that if you get into studying quantum mechanics and quantum physics, there's only one way to live, and that's a positive way. When my ego starts coming back to me, and which I almost have destroyed, it wants me to have a pity party and not be thankful at all times, because if you really look at it, you're being showered with blessings at all times. Just those of you that have children, having them arrive safely at home at the end of the day, that's a heck of a blessing. And they're healthy, and that's a heck of a blessing. And for those of you where they're not healthy, I can't recommend my book enough. You've got to be proactive, which means you study a lot. Those people in the world that are extremely, honestly, very rich, work their butts off, except the ones that inherit it. But I'd say honestly. Honestly means you earn it yourself. And it's very important. You'll notice that the people that are very successful, when they come to a party, they talk about things that are more interesting. And they're not just there to have a few martinis and then slur their way through the rest of the evening. And by the way, alcohol is actually very good for you, because until just recently, till early 1900s, we didn't have refrigeration, and everything we ate was spoiled, or it wasn't kept properly. So that's how we got beer and wine. The grapes and the grains spoiled on us. And gee, somebody got thirsty and took a drink of that, and that was fun. And so that's how we got it. But a little bit of alcohol really helps your health a lot, but a lot really hurts it a lot. And of course, I was very fortunate to be born with an allergy to tobacco and a dislike for anything that changes how my brain works. I like my brain the way it is, and I don't want to alter it. So that's a blessing to be born with. I guess we're through. I can't say too much about the purpose of my writing these books. And I'm writing another book now on what to do with a perfect life, with a perfect health. how to make it the happiest health you can have. But I can't, you're not going to get somebody else to do it for you. You're going to have to do your own. Even Tony Robbins, who I love, I've taken his courses, and that man, when he wants to study something, you can't stop him. Kind of like Elon Musk. I have incredible admiration for people that get onto something and pursue it like they really, really want it. Okay. If anyone is still listening, I would give you a website you can reach me on and ask me personal questions. I tend to have contacts to move people out of the country that need better medical care than the United States will allow. My email is Bob, B-O-B, at Dr. Bob, D-R-B-O-B, Danville, where I live, DANVILLE.com. Okay.